Now let's turn back to the probate hearing underway in southeastern Michigan. Tanya Zuvers is asking the court to declare her 3 sons, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner, legally dead after they vanished back in 2010. And right now, who has taken the stand but the mother herself, Tanya. Let's go in together to hear her testimony.
State your name for the record.
Tanya Zuvers.
Could you spell your name?
Tanyazuvers.
And what city do you live in?
Morenci.
And is that in Lenawee County, Michigan?
Yes.
And how long have you lived in Morenci?
My whole life.
And how old are you today?
58.
It's part of the record. I want to take you back in time, Tanya, to when you met John Skelton and married John Skelton. When did you marry John Skelton?
September of '02.
And did you have children with Mr. Skelton?
Yes, I did.
And what were their names?
Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner.
And is that order that you just told me, is that their ages?
Yes.
Progressive?
Yes.
At some point, these 3 children, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner, could you describe Andrew for us?
Andrew was my smart as a whip, wasn't a computer or video game that he could not conquer. I want to say he was probably around 4 or 5 and he was playing a video game and the girls had friends over and he did something on this video game and one of the friends said, "Whoa, wait a minute, I've been playing this game forever. I didn't know it did that. Show me how you did that." So here's this little 4-year-old showing this teenager how to play this video game, and so he was
Smart.
very smart. They all 3 were very smart.
We're not here to determine who's the smartest, but
No.
I want a little bit of a description of each of the children.
Sure.
What about Alex?
He was very inquisitive. If he could take it apart and put it back together, he was happy. He loved to be friends with his sister's friends. They were his girlfriends, he liked to call them.
Yeah.
He was going to be my ladies' man, I do believe. But fascinated with cell phones. Like, we always joke that someday he would be a cell phone programmer or builder or something like that because he was so into how does it work, and that, you know, he just thought that was neat.
Yes. About Tanner?
Tanner was my baby. He had been 5 for 1 month when they went missing. Had just started in big school, was so excited to be in big school like his brothers. He was still had that little babiness to him. But he could tell stories, and he could tell them, and you would believe him because he would tell stories that were almost believable, and you're kind of going, I don't know, and then he would go, I'm just messing with you. And you're going, how do you do this, you know? But, yeah.
Safe to say they were all pretty sharp children.
Yeah, they were. And they were each other's best friends. They were, very rarely did they fight. They were, you know, but they were only like a year and 11 months apart, each of them, and so they were built-in best friends.
Right.
Tanya Zuvers describing all three children, a year, 7 months apart, each of them. She hasn't seen them in 15 years. She doesn't know what happened to them. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll hear more from her as she testifies to the probate court judge. Stay tuned.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story.
Monica Cimentelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cimentelli.
The celebrity stylist murder trial. Today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a preview of tomorrow's big evidentiary hearing in the Karen Reed case. We'll unpack the motions set to be argued with insight from our trial insiders.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Now back to Michigan, where the mother of three missing boys is in court today for a probate hearing. Tanya Zuvers is requesting that her sons, Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner Skelton, be officially declared legally dead after they went missing the day after Thanksgiving in 2010. The last person who had the boys was the father. Let's go back in where we are hearing from the mother herself as she's describing each of her three sons.
Right. Now, we're going to get into some things that are not so happy, but that is, at some point, the marriage with John Skelton started to have problems. When was that?
September 13th of 2010, when he signed my sons out of school, telling the school that he was taking them on a family vacation to Florida that I had no idea was happening and was not invited to be a part of.
Okay. Were you guys still together on that day?
Yes, we were.
Okay. And what did you do in response to that?
My first call was to talk with a police officer. It happened to be Chief Larry Weeks, is who came. He told me that he would call John and see if he could get John to come to the police station and we could sit and talk. And while we were waiting for him to come to the police station, my daughters, who were older, both adults.
These are not children with John Skelton, correct?
Correct. They are not children with John Skelton. They are from my first husband.
Okay.
They came to Adrian on my behalf and met with an attorney and found out that the only way to prevent John from taking the children was, or for me to get custody of them, that I needed to file for divorce. And I said, well, do whatever you have to. In the back of my mind, I had always heard, you know, if they take them out of state, you have a hard time getting them back, you know, and I didn't know any of that. So I'm like, do what you have to do to get me custody.
Okay.
And we'll cross the next bridge when we get to it. I don't want him taking them out of state until we've had time to discuss this further.
Right.
So when he came to the police station, I said to him, I said, so how long do you plan on being in Florida? He said, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month, I don't know. I'll put him in school down there if we're going to be too long. And I said, well, you realize to enroll them in any school, you have to have birth certificates, you have to have social security numbers. You don't have any of that. Mm-hmm. And so we talked. I said, you know, we can go home. I can find that information for you. just kind of playing his hand for a little bit just to see if I could get him to hold off. So we went to the house and I looked, pretty much found all the paperwork I needed right away, but I still had not heard from my daughters that everything had been signed and filed. So I was kind of holding off, and I don't even know how long we were at the house, and he come out of his he had a room where his computer was, and he came out and he started yelling at me, and he said, "You've been lying to me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Well, apparently when he decided to take them, he had made an appointment with an attorney and was going to consult. He claims he was just going to see what he could legally do about taking them to Florida. And ironically, he had the appointment with the same attorney that I had already retained. And that attorney called him and told him that they couldn't represent him because I had retained him. And so he started yelling and saying that I was lying and whatever, that he said, "I'm out of here, I'm taking the boys with me," and he started yelling at the boys to get in the van. And Tanner was behind me, so I was able to keep him, and the other two were crying, and they got in the van because their dad got to them. He was in front of me going out of the house, and he made them get in the van, and he ended up taking off, and he made it to Florida with them.
Okay. What happened next?
So my mom, my youngest daughter, and I left.
Still with us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Jack Rice. Jack, let's talk about the standard of proof in a case like this. It's probate court, civil in nature, preponderance of the evidence. Why do you think with that standard they're presenting 3 days of testimony?
I don't think they need as much testimony as that, but I think there is something to this, and I think you really want to be really clear about the efforts that they went through, what they actually did. They spent enormous resources here. And it's not about covering themselves per se, but I really do think it has to do with showing their efforts and the competency and everything that they went through to establish all of the evidence that they went through. But you can imagine, as I listen to this mom, imagine every single decision that she made, even as she was describing it, saying, if I had just said no, or forced this, or kept them, or did something different, would it have been a different outcome? And it feels a lot like an opportunity for her to voice all of this tragedy that's been bottled up in her for 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. It's just so hard to imagine. And, you know, different people have weighed in. And if you look at social media, those watching the trial have said different things that they think of as to why maybe they're doing such a long hearing with all the evidence. One is certainly to make a record. But could it be, Jack, things like maybe there's going to be a civil lawsuit and they want to have this record for that? I think we have about 20 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do understand that, but when you look at all the efforts that the police went through, I find it hard to determine that they could do it. There clearly nobody's going to be going after her. Clearly nobody's going after him because he doesn't have the money either. There's no resources.
I agree. Jack Rice sticking around with us. Coming up, we're going to have more testimony from the Skelton brothers' mother. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Court TV Live, I'm Ashley Wilcott. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are tracking several major trials this afternoon here at Court TV. In California, the state's case has now entered its 6th week of testimony in the celebrity stylist murder trial for Monica Cementilli. And in Michigan, a probate hearing is underway where a mom of 3 missing boys is asking the court to declare them legally dead. Our Court TV cameras are also in Iowa, where jury selection is underway for a man accused of killing his girlfriend after he told the police he was having, quote, visions of violence. We'll keep you updated on all of these trials throughout the day, of course, but for now, let's go back to Michigan. Now, the mother, Tanya Zuvers, is testifying at the probate hearing to have her sons, all three, declared legally dead. Let's go back in where we left off.
Florida on a Wednesday. We drove all night. We got into Jacksonville around noon. We went to the police station with my papers that.
Now these papers, you had gotten an ex parte custody order from the
Correct.
court, is that right?
Correct.
And so you took that paperwork.
I took that paperwork with me and I said, what can you do? And everything was lined up for us. I think that officer walked us across the street to the courthouse, told us exactly what department we needed to go to. We went there. We showed the lady, this is what we have. We need to have this turned into Florida verbiage. Mm-hmm. And we picked that up the next day. And around, I want to say it was around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a Friday. I called the sheriff's department. I said, I have this order and I need someone to serve it. And they knocked on the apartment door where he was staying, brought Andrew and Alexander out to me, and we left. But we had to stay in Florida for the weekend because the judge wanted to talk with both John and I before she allowed us to come home.
Now, you've thrown out different days of the week, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
I know, and I don't.
So it's okay. But I want to make clear for the court that, you did give a date to start. That was September 13th. And all of those days that you just referenced, the Friday was September 17th. So it's right away. There's no delay in this.
Right. It was all that same week.
I mean, he left with the kids. You got an ex parte order the next day. The next day, you're on the way to Florida. Is that right?
Correct. On Wednesday.
You get there. You are immediately going to the court to get the order enforced, correct?
Yes.
And now you're to the point where you have to come back on Monday, which would have been September 20th.
Right.
And what did the judge say?
Well, we initially were I was just gonna go in the courtroom by myself, and we were sitting in the hotel room, and my mom and I were talking, and we decided we probably ought to find an attorney, and maybe we should do that. We're in a strange town, and it's huge.
You're talking about Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And I don't even remember how we chose this attorney. I think we just opened the phone book and pointed, because they actually had phone books back then. We went and we met with this attorney. He met me on Monday the 20th. He met me at the court, and he and I went in, and John showed up with an attorney.
Okay.
And the first thing out of their mouth was my history. I had been in trouble, and so they brought that up. And the judge in Florida, and I cannot remember her name.
It's okay.
She went into her chambers and called up here and talked with Judge Noe, and their decision between the two of them, they both were in agreement that we jointly bring them back to Michigan together, and then once we got to the state line, then the custody agreement that Judge Noe had signed became effective.
Which gave you
Which
full
gave
custody
me
of the
full
children.
custody of the boys.
Okay. So you get back to Michigan, and then on the next day would be September 21st. You're back in Michigan. right?
I think we got back on the 21st, like late. I can't.
But you didn't go home when you, what I say is you were living at Congress Street.
Right.
Before you left. When you came back, where'd you go?
I moved to my mom and dad's house with the boys.
Okay.
For a couple weeks. And then I found I had a house I was living in with them.
So you get back to Michigan and you go to your parents' house, but you realize you don't have your stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go back to Congress Street to retrieve your belongings?
We did, and I moved out, what I needed for the boys. I moved out necessities. And then once I got the house, then we kind of split up some of the furniture.
Was there an argument over a curio cabinet?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I was living in the Congress Street address, and before I left to go to Florida, we moved the curio cabinet out because at that point, I'm trying to remember. Anyways, we moved the curio cabinet out, and when John got home, when we got back from Florida, he flipped out that the curio cabinet was gone. He called me up. He's like, "Where's this at? What did you do with it?" I said, "That was mine. You gave that to me as a housewarming gift when we bought the house." And he's like, "I paid for that. That's mine." Okay, we moved it back.
This is the same curio cabinet that was found smashed to pieces.
Yes, sir.
So you're back in Michigan. You get the boys back in school?
I did.
Did you get them into counseling?
I sure did.
Okay. What happened next? Did you start a discussion with your attorney about parenting time? And
We did. And when I think back and I look in my papers, we had dates, but we never made it to those dates to get things finalized through the courts.
Right.
Because the boys disappeared.
But in your discussion with your attorney, did you guys, and I know John Skelton had an attorney as well, is that right?
Correct.
And so in the discussions between your attorneys, did you work out some Thanksgiving parenting time?
We did. We worked out some parenting time. I had agreed to allow him to have half of the Thanksgiving vacation, and then I would get them back on Black Friday.
And what time were you supposed to get them back?
Between 3 and 4 o'clock. I don't remember the exact time.
Okay. But if I said 3 o'clock, would that be?
Yeah.
Correct. So Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday. Did you have a phone call with John on Wednesday night?
I may have.
Okay. Do you have any recollection of arguing over him telling the children that you went to jail?
I know that I had a conversation with him on that Monday night, I believe it was, when the boys came home and told me. I called him, and he tried to say that they overheard him talking on the phone, and that he didn't mean anything by it, that they were listening and not where they weren't supposed to be or something. And I said, why are you even having conversations with someone on a phone like that when you have the boys with you? Why would you even do that?
So the kids asked you about that?
They told me that Daddy said that I went to jail.
Okay. And I assume you were upset about that.
Oh, just a little.
So he then takes the boys for the Thanksgiving holiday.
Correct.
And where did you spend Thanksgiving?
I went to my sister's house in Kunkel, Ohio.
Okay.
To do our normal family get together, make crafts and have fun. And
And did John try to contact you that day?
I think so. Yeah.
And did you talk to him?
Not till that evening.
Okay. So you didn't want to be bothered
Well,
with Thanksgiving?
No,
There was
I
no
mean,
messages.
If it's an emergency, you can call me, but you don't need to keep texting me and blowing my phone up.
Right.
You're supposed to be spending time with your sons.
So later in that afternoon, did you eventually have a conversation with him?
We did talk.
What'd you talk about?
I honestly don't remember. I'm sure I said something about blowing my phone up, and then the whole having to tell the boys, and I know that we had a fight on that phone that night. And I had told him, because he had asked me if I ever thought we could get back together, and I said, no, I don't think we can after what's happened this week. I don't know how I could.
Okay. And you think this was Thanksgiving evening?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your next contact with John?
I think I texted him either Friday morning, Friday early afternoon, wanted to know if I could pick the boys up earlier than the 3 o'clock.
And why did you want to pick them up earlier?
My dad and I were gonna take the younger grandchildren and go see if we could find clothing, apparel for my nephew's football team. He was playing in the state football finals at Ford Field.
He played for Hudson.
He played for Hudson.
Okay.
And so we were going to go see if we could find them Hudson Tiger sweatshirts, because we only have Emergency Bulldog sweatshirts at our house. So, and the boys were so excited. My dad would talk to them about going to watch this game, and that we were going to be inside and we didn't have to wear coats. They just couldn't understand that, because every football game they'd ever gone to was outside and it was cold.
Right.
So they were excited, and so we thought that would be kind of fun to take and go find orange and black clothes.
Gotcha. So what was John's response?
He said, well, we're not home right now. We went to my friend's house. We're north of Jackson. I don't know when we'll be home.
Giving some good information about the history of this case. In September, before November, this was a custody issue. They were not getting along, and she agreed she would have the children. They both had lawyers, and then he would get to see the children Thanksgiving Day until about 3 p.m. on Black Friday. And we know that she did not see these children again. Stay tuned. We'll take a break. We'll get you back inside court in just a moment.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a preview of tomorrow's big evidentiary hearing in the Karen Reed case. We'll unpack the motions set to be argued with insight from our trial insiders.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
Breaking down the week's big hearings from the most anticipated trials in our daily spotlight. Plus, a closer look at true crime cases with our voice for victims.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Turning now back to Michigan, where we are watching a probate court hearing in the missing Skelton brothers case. Tanya Zuvers is asking the court to declare her 3 sons legally dead after they went missing more than a decade ago. The boys' father, John Skelton, was the last known person to be with the boys during Thanksgiving of 2010. Now, Skelton, eventually pled guilty to parental kidnapping, though the boys' bodies have never been found. He also has refused to give any information about what happened to them or where they might be. Let's head back to court now, where the court is hearing from Zuvers herself.
I said, well, just keep in touch with me and let me know. And so we left it at that. Well, then I saw movement at his house. And
Now, let me stop you for a second.
I had to say how I saw movement
There you go.
out my kitchen window.
So where you were staying?
Where I was staying, between the neighbor's tree and house and across the empty lot, I could see his driveway.
Okay.
I saw a vehicle pull in his house, and I saw two people come out and get in the car and leave. And I don't know if that's kind of weird, so I messaged him. I'm like, hey, are you home? And he's like, no. And then that's when he tells me that, oh, actually, the boys aren't with me. I was home. The boys are with my friend. She's bringing them home at 3 o'clock. I'm on my way because I fell off the ladder. I'm going to the hospital. I don't know, I hurt my foot. I said, okay. And I knew he was doing some house remodel or something, so I didn't think anything about that he fell off the ladder.
Those two people, was that Kelsey Borowski?
I found out later that it was Kelsey Borowski picking him up to take him to the hospital.
And who is Kelsey Borowski?
She would be his cousin's daughter.
Okay. So she's taking John to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. So 3 o'clock comes. Are there any kids?
No.
4 o'clock comes.
Nothing. And my attorney had told me that he said, now, right at 4 o'clock or 4:01, you don't need to be calling right away to report them, but I know you're gonna. Mm-hmm. He said, you gotta give them a little leeway or whatever. And I said, no, at 4:01, I'm calling because something's not right.
Okay.
So I called and I was told that emergency officer was...
Who'd you call?
911.
Okay.
Emergency's officer is not available, but we will have him get into contact with you when he gets back to town.
Okay.
A couple phone calls later, still not available. So my dad and brother-in-law take a drive, and they find emergency's officer, and he said it was Officer Hillard. He said, well, they told me to just get a hold of her later tonight. He goes, I didn't know it was right away. And so then they explained what was going on, and he came right over. And that's when he went in the house to do a welfare check and found mass destruction.
So were you with Officer Hillard when he
I was not. I was, my aunt and uncle lived up the street, and so I went to their house just because we all just had a bad feeling.
Okay.
And I made the decision I didn't want to be there if
something bad
was happening. So
when the police went to enter this home, though, the home, was the back door wedged?
yes.
And so you
When my sister and I went there and we kind of were walking around the house to see if we could see in, the only place we really could see in was the back door. And I still had a key for it, but I couldn't get the door open. We noticed that he had taken a 2x4 and wedged it against the door and against the steps that went up into the dining room so that you couldn't get in the house.
So did the police have to force their way in?
I understand that they did, yes.
Okay. What happened next?
He went through the house, did not find the boys.
Now, at some point, you find out that John had tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, and that's what I was just trying to think. Because I remember, I'm pretty sure I made that phone call from Mom and Dad, so I must have went back to my Mom and Dad's house. And I called to Fulton County Health Center, and I asked to speak to the nurse taking care of him. And the nurse, he said, well, are you two still married? And I said, yes, we're still married. I've filed for divorce. And he said, well, technically you're still his wife, so I'm going to tell you. John is here because he tried to kill himself. And that was the first I heard that.
Okay.
And I said, okay, does he have 3 children with him? And I explained to them, you know, my sons are, we can't find them. They're not at the house. John had them. Claims there's a woman that had them, but there's nothing. And he said, no, ma'am, there are no children here with him.
And did you relay this information to the police?
Yes.
And what did they do that you know of?
I know that Officer Hillard went down to Fulton County. And then pretty much the next thing that I heard, or that I can recall, Chief Weeks called and wanted to have a sit down, him and I. And I want to say it was like 1 in the morning or something. And so one of my sisters and I and my dad went to the police station to sit down. Chief Weeks said that this is, you know, we have the Amber Alert, and in another couple hours, this is not going to look like Morency's police station because we have people coming in from all over
To look for the boys.
to look for your sons and find out what John did.
Now, over the next, I know this is difficult, and if you need to take a break, you just let me know, okay?
All right, let's bring back in criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, still with us this hour, Jack Rice. And Jack, boy, you know, you and I talk a lot about people and going through the system, and I often talk about trust your gut, especially as a mother. You as a father, trust your gut. How chilling that she said at 4:01 on Black Friday, no, I'm calling now because something's not right. And sure enough, then they do a welfare check. The boys aren't there. She found mass destruction in the home of the father. Fast forward, he tries to kill himself. The children aren't with him. He allegedly left them with a woman. They're not there either. What are your thoughts at this point?
Yeah, it's all of those things, right? We all know, and I don't know where this comes from, but I think as parents, or those of us who love our children, or those who we take care of, that this matters, and that gut really matters. But as I think about this, what really comes to mind, Your Honors, every time we have seen these kinds of cases in the past, sometimes when you see the abuse of a child at the hands of one of their parents, sometimes both of their parents, one of the questions we always ask ourselves is, where was Child Protective Services? How did they possibly drop the ball? How did they not catch this? How did they not see this? But follow the story for just a second. Think about where we are right now, where this mom is talking about, he lawyers up, she lawyers up. The first fight comes in and says, well, don't remember, she was in jail previously. And all of a sudden you get this clouded question of, well, how does that impact this? And then you say, well, look at the things that he's done and how does that impact this? And then all of a sudden what you get is this question of, what does Child Protective Services do if you step into a situation where there seems to be parents involved, there are lawyers involved, but both sides are pointing at the other, and sometimes you're asking yourself, are they doing it because it's true? Are you doing it as a tactic? And so what you get is this very difficult space where you keep asking, what could we have done differently? How could the system have stepped in earlier to protect these 3 little boys and didn't? And I think this little example is a perfect vignette of sometimes how that happens.
Yeah, you're right, because the system was already involved by virtue of the custody dispute and the divorce. You're so right. Let's talk a little bit about the legality of this type of hearing. So this is probate court, civil, preponderance of the evidence, very different than beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a standard that requires the party with the burden of proof, in this case the mother, to show that her version of the case is more likely true than not. It's a very low standard, more likely true than not. How do you, let me rephrase that, Jack, do you prepare any differently for this kind of case where it's preponderance of the evidence versus a criminal case, for instance, where it's beyond a reasonable doubt?
I do, and there really is a difference when you think about these standards. The highest standard that we have in American jurisprudence is in criminal cases, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Preponderance, sometimes we describe it like this. Imagine having 500 pounds on two different sides of a scale and dropping a feather on one side. That's all you need. You have to say it's just a little bit more likely true than not. And so sometimes what you don't have to do is spend as much time filling gaps that you might otherwise be feeling if you're dealing with higher standards of proof. And so you're spending more time on that bigger questions to say, let's talk about why this is true and how this is true and what we have done. And in this particular case, really showing not just that 5-year time gap, not just how much effort that they went through, and really showing all of those broader reasons why this investigator detective who was involved for 12 years, all that was done. This is over, dare I use this term, overkill in terms of all of the things that they have proven. But at the same time, you still don't want to lose this. And so you don't just wave your hand and say, close enough. You come in and you say, I want to win this. You never want to be just a smidge over. You want to give them all that they need, so this is an easy outcome for the court.
Yeah, and they're doing that. They are providing a lot of information, Jack, to your point. Stand by. We do have to take a break. Of course, when we get back, we're going to go back in to hear more from the mother of young Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner about what else she knows about what might have happened to her children. Stay tuned. Back to Court TV Live. Before we get you back into court, we have a quick update out of Utah, where last week a judge denied bail for a woman accused of murdering her missing husband. Jennifer Gledhill was in court on Friday for a bail hearing, charged with killing her husband, Matthew Johnson, last year. His body has never been found. In court, prosecutors introduced the transcript of a call between Gledhill and her secret lover, where she is heard urging him not to see her as a monster.
She tells him to not think of her as a monster and to remember her who she was before she opened her mouth. And the informant tells the defendant that he was frightened by what she had told him. She tells, and I quote the informant, I think that the fact that you got scared of me, that part, it broke my heart, because I was like, wow, if you think I could even hurt a fly, like he's not a person. He wasn't a person anymore.
We will continue to follow this case, and tonight we will be playing out Friday's bail hearing for Jennifer Gledhill in its entirety. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern. You will not want to miss any of that. For now, we're watching a probate hearing still underway in Michigan, where Tanya Zuvers is asking the court to declare her 3 sons legally dead. The boys vanished back in November of 2010, 15 years ago, and they were last seen with their father, John Skelton, who's currently in jail on related charges to this case. Let's go into court now to hear more from the mother of the missing boys.
Okay, and I think the court will understand. Over the next several days, there were obviously multiple search parties that were put out.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
I was vaguely.
Okay. How were you getting updates?
Pardon?
How were you getting updates on what was going on?
There was an FBI agent that was assigned to come to the house periodically with updates. And there was also, I'm not going to remember exactly what her title was.
It's okay.
But she was kind of there beside me pretty much through daytime hours.
Like victim services type person?
No, she was a doctor of psychiatry or something.
Okay.
And so she was just there with us, and if I had questions or if we needed something, and she would help to kind of understand after the agents would leave, and if I had questions about what they told us or that type of thing.
So the children were on some medication.
2 of them.
Okay, who was that? Which 2?
Alexander and Tanner both had asthma and had daily pill that they had to take, and then they also had rescue inhaler and a breathing machine if things got really bad. And in this fall, it was...
Is the breathing machine a nebulizer?
Yes.
Okay. And did you find out at some point that that medication was still at the house on Congress Street?
Yes.
Did you also find out that the coats and boots of the children
Yes.
were given to John Skelton's aunt?
I did not know where they found them. I know that they came to the house to have me identify that that was their stuff, but I never knew where they found them.
Did you know that their toothbrushes were also?
No, I did not know about the toothbrushes.
Okay, you've learned that since?
Yes.
You learned about the curio cabinet being destroyed?
I saw that because they did take me to the house. They said, we know you didn't live here, but it hasn't been that long since you've lived here, and you might be able to point out things that might not be obvious, except that everything was destroyed.
Now, there was a suicide note that was written to you. You aware of that?
I know there was one written. I've never seen it.
Okay. Were you told about it?
Yes.
Okay. In these updates, were you being told about the lies that John was telling about the different scenarios of where the children could be?
I don't think really in the beginning right away. I know it's just that time was so foggy for me.
I understand.
Because I felt like I was living somebody's nightmare.
Right. It's okay. We only want you to talk about what you remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember in our conversations, we don't want to guess.
Right.
We only want to talk about what you know.
Correct.
Okay. At some point, and this was not very long after November 26, 2010, the FBI came to you and told you that your children are probably not alive.
Correct.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Did you want to believe it?
No.
Did you want to hold out hope that they were alive? Yeah.
And I did for quite a while.
Okay. So, at some point, this case gets turned over to the Michigan State Police.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. And you meet Detective Sergeant at the time, Jeremy Brewer.
Yes, I did.
And I think you and Mr. Brewer became very close. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think you had many in-depth discussions with Mr. Brewer about what happened in this case. Is that right?
Yes.
And at some point, you knew that your children were no longer alive.
Correct.
Do you remember when that was?
I don't remember the exact moment. I think it came on slowly in that I logically, I said from day one, my sons are smart. If my sons are out there in the world with someone they don't know, one of them, because the 3 of them work together very well, one of them, and more than likely it would have been Alexander. He was my more vocal, social, would just tell the person next to them, this isn't my mom or dad. And
Can absolutely understand how she as a mother would not be able to process or accept that the children were not still alive, even though she didn't know where they are. 15 years later, she's asking this court to declare them legally dead. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get you back into the war.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a preview of tomorrow's big evidentiary hearing in the Karen Reed case. We'll unpack the motions set to be argued with insight from our trial insiders.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
This stuff about playing a race card is preposterous.
The racial division was so great that people saw the facts differently.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific, only on Court TV.
Now back to Michigan, where the mother of 3 missing boys is appearing in court today for a probate hearing. Tanya Zuvers filed a petition back in 2023 requesting that her 3 sons be declared legally dead after they went missing the day after Thanksgiving in 2010. The boys' father was the last known person to see them alive, and he told police that he gave them to an organization to protect them from Zuvers accusing her of abuse. He is currently serving 10 years in prison in connection to their disappearance. He is set to be released in November of this year. Let's go back to court together. We're hearing from the mom, Tanya Zuvers, on the witness stand.
I know that if you call this number, my mom will answer. And
in fact, they knew how to call 911
they did.
because they'd done it, correct?
I found that out.
Okay. Do you know who killed your children?
John Skelton.
Is there any doubt in your mind that John Skelton killed your children?
There is no doubt in my mind.
Is there any doubt in your mind that John Skelton killed your children on November 26th, on or about November 26, 2010?
No, there is no doubt.
You know if your children were alive, they would have found you.
Yes, they would have.
So today they would all be adults, correct?
Correct.
So any explanation that you've ever been told or heard about why John Skelton would have hidden them? They're adults today.
Correct.
They could walk through that door right now,
Wish they could.
but they can't. Why is that?
Because John killed them.
I know a lot of people have asked questions about why are you doing this?
Correct.
And you and I have had some long discussions about that. We talked about a headstone. And I know that one of the things you wanted to make clear to the court is that it's important to you that you want to be able to put a date on that headstone. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that date November 26, 2010?
Yes.
You're asking the court to declare what you know happened, that John Skelton killed your children on November 26, 2010. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you think this shows respect to the children that we are doing this?
Yes, it does. Because their dad showed them no respect. And I shouldn't even say their dad. John Skelton showed them no respect. Because any loving father would not have done what he did. And I owe them the respect that we may not have their bodies, but they're still, their lives still meant something, and there is a place to go.
They deserve a death certificate.
They do.
Tanya, I'm proud of you and the courage you've shown.
Thank you.
I have no further questions at this time.
Go ahead, Ms. Sting. Thank you. Hi, I know you testified that the boys would all be adults now, but can you tell us exactly how old Andrew would be today?
Andrew would be 20. I'm going to get it wrong because it's 25, but he would be 23.
Okay. And what about Alexander?
He would be 21.
And Tanner?
And Tanner would be 19.
Okay. Earlier, you testified that you didn't want to be present at the time that the house was searched by Officer Hilliard on November 26th of 2010 in case they found something. Did you have that initial gut feeling on that day at that time that the boys were no longer alive?
I don't know that I had the initial gut feeling, but something told me that this wasn't just a case that a friend, as John Skelton told me, had the boys. When the door was wedged shut and we couldn't get into the house, that's just not normal. People don't do that. And so I think in the back of my mind, I was afraid that we were going to find 3 bodies in there. And I didn't want to be there for that.
You've heard some testimony today about the children and passports, and it sounds like none of the law enforcement were 100% sure on that question. So can you answer that question of whether the children
do
had
not have passports.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And over the years, what all did you personally do to help attempt to find the boys?
Oh my goodness. We, first off, social media sharing missing fly.
All right, still with us, Jack Rice. Jack, you listen to her, then I think you can presume the children are dead. However, what about exploring in this hearing the father's claims and the potential that the children are alive? Because we really don't see that happen.
Actually, in some ways, I think there is some value to that because you want to be able to shut those down. I mean, anytime you have alternative theories, there are times when what you want to do is individually just knock them out and say, this isn't because of this isn't because of that. All of those things have value. But you know, one thing I do like, Your Honor, about this at the very end was the big ask. I mean, sometimes when we're in court, when it's hearings like this, when they're criminal cases, when they're civil cases, is you have to ask and tell the jury what you want. You want to tell the judge what you want them to do, because there are times when you can have litigation and then this can go through the gamut. And what you want to be able to say is, can you tell the court what you want them to do? Because frequently, I suspect you were in this space where you would think to yourself, what do they want? Just tell me what you want me to do. I'll probably do it, but it would be more helpful if you said, please do this. This is what I want to have happen. This is the outcome that should take place in this case. Now, we know it's obvious that it's going to be one of 2 things, but still, I think that big ask and the answer and that direction is something that the court actually likes.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I have to ask this. Why has the father not been charged with murder, Jack Rice? And let's just keep it really short.
Yes, it's a great question, and I think they didn't have enough, but they didn't want to just simply kick it down the road and say, we're going to let him go until we get more information.
Yeah, will he be charged? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, Jack Rice. As always, love having you on. Coming up, more testimony from the mom in the missing Skelton brothers case. Stay with us here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala.
And I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Court TV is tracking several big cases. In Florida, Jermaine Bass is sentenced for the murder of his 5-year-old daughter and the attempted murder of his 8-year-old son. We'll have the children's mother's final words to him.
In the celebrity stylist murder trial of Monica Simontelli, the daughter of the defendant and the victim is back on the stand.
And in Michigan, a mother goes through the painful steps to have her 3 sons, who have been missing for more than 14 years, declared legally dead. Tanya Zuvers' 3 sons disappeared in November of 2010 while with their father. Andrew was 9, Alexander was 7, and Tanner was 5 when Zuvers said her ex-husband, John Skelton, was supposed to bring them home but didn't.
Now, this is video of what officials believe the boys would look like now. Skelton told police that he believed Zuvers was sexting the boys and that they were with a woman who officials later said did not exist. Now, Skelton then changed the story to say he gave the boys to an underground society to protect them from their mother. Investigators called all of Skelton's claims, quote, bold-faced lies. He did plead guilty to unlawful imprisonment in their disappearances and is set to be released from prison coming up in November.
Skelton briefly appeared in court this morning for a probate hearing where the boy's mother is asking a judge to declare them legally dead. Skelton waived his right to stay for the hearing.
The boy's mother is still testifying, so let's head back into court.
Aiding with age progression through National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Any interview that I could do, we did a story with John Walsh. He came out. Podcast, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to on podcasts or done countless interviews with anybody to just get the information out there.
Did you participate in any of the searches that were done?
I did not.
Okay. Why not?
I couldn't. Family did. I was just...
Did you have that same fear that you had on November 26th?
I think so. I was living somebody's nightmare. And at that point, I didn't know what end was up. So to go out and participate in public, and no offense to media, but I was nowhere ready to face anybody with a camera or a microphone.
Now, there was testimony regarding Alexander calling 911 on that day that he was with John and, felt scared or alone or that he couldn't find his dad when both of them had been in the house the whole time. So did you teach your kids about 911?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we, along with your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s and your address and your name and who's your mom and who's your dad, and you learn about, that was just an automatic mom thing. You teach them about 911, and like I said, Alex was fascinated with phones anyway, so am I surprised that he's the one that would have done something like that? No. He was my very vocal child.
Okay. And do you believe that if your sons were out there and had the opportunity to call 911 in the past 15 years, they would have?
Definitely.
And you heard the testimony today from all of the law enforcement personnel that the boys hadn't been heard from or seen since November 26, 2010, correct?
Correct.
Does that lead you to believe as well that the boys are deceased?
Yes.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
If you're comfortable, I'd like to hear a little bit about the dynamics between you and John and what that environment was like. And if you're not comfortable enough to share, I understand.
No. I thought we were in a happy marriage. I mean, couples have problems, they have fights. He had at one point mentioned that he would like to move to Florida, or at least go down there and try to look for a job. And I said to him, I said, we can't just uproot and move to Florida. School just started. There's processes. When are you thinking you want to do this? And this was like the weekend before he took them to Florida. And he said, well, in a couple months or whatever. And I said, because of my criminal past. There are things that I have to look into before I can just up and move. I can't just, you know, we have to find out. And I said, I can make those phone calls on Monday and say, what do I have to do to move? Apprehensive about it, just because Morenci is a small town. Everybody there knew what I had done. I had paid my time. I was welcomed back into the community. Going somewhere new where nobody knows me. You know, I think ultimately that was John Skelton's goal, was to get me where I didn't have family and friends and I had to rely on him. So when I got the phone call from the school, I was completely shocked because I was like we all went to bed at the same time last night in the house, and he was supposedly going to work, but apparently he left but didn't go to work because he came back and took the boys from school, and I don't know, I'm just...
Did you feel at other times as though there was an attempt to isolate or create a situation where you were dependent on him?
He was very jealous of any relationship that I had with, whether it was my parents, my siblings, my children, my daughters, my sons, friends. And I find out after the fact the whole cafe mom thing. He was very jealous of that. He had gone through a divorce with his first wife, and she came and got custody of his daughter until he lost his daughter, and I never wanted to have that be something between us, but I think that I don't even know where his mind was or what. It's like he became somebody different overnight.
Was there ever any other time that he had done something sort of just rash and impulsive that you couldn't necessarily explain?
Not really that I can think of. I mean, he liked to drink and like binge drink, and then he was, I don't even know how to explain it. In looking back, he was all about himself, and it was his needs and wants before anybody else's, and just he was on the road a lot with the truck. So a lot of times I felt like I was a single mom anyways, because he was gone for days at a time. So the boys and I had a routine. And then he would come home and things would be good for a couple days when he was home, and then I don't know if it was insecurities but for the most part we went camping, the boys played soccer, we always outside playing. He was building a treehouse in the backyard for the boys and kind of starting to teach them about building and making cuts and using a hammer and then it was like one day this switch flipped and just became somebody that none of us recognized.
Thank you for answering my questions.
You're welcome.
Any questions based on my questions, counselors? No, thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you so much for your testimony. All right, Mr. Castleberry.
All right, perfect time to take a break. The mother done testifying. What did you think?
She's a bit of an enigma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were both talking about the lack of emotion there. She has a background that suggests maybe there was some, his claims might not have been based out of thin air. So I don't know.
Yeah, right. But she was pretty detailed in exactly what she says happened and never seeing her boys again. We need to take a break. When we return, we're going to wrap up the Skelton brothers probate court hearing. So stay here with us on your front row seat to justice.